Good show.
Yes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we're back for another episode of the Turner Podcasting System on indiequebec.com. It's the Prez, joined once again by my co-host, the WCW expert himself, Stinger. Stinger, how you doing, man?
I'm very good. The weather is getting nice. Treated myself some good WCW Nitro 98. Always a treat, man. Definitely. So I'm super stoked about this episode as well. Good stuff coming, man. Absolutely.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we're continuing. Last week we watched the March 16th Nitro. It was really cool from Club La Vila in Panama City, Florida. This week, another sold out event, and this one's from an arena. Well, okay, the club was cool, but it's not a 20,000 seat arena, so it's easy to sell that out.
Yeah.
But it has a cool look. But this was in a real, just basic arena, Louisville, Kentucky, sold out. I mean, you could see people up to really the last possible row.
Yeah, full. Not even one seat that was available, and it looked like a pay-per-view venue, to be honest.
It
was massive.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me literally of the movie Ready to Rumble, when they have the shittiest possible seats, and they're really
right on the fucking slanted. Yeah, actually, man. Yeah, good stuff for real. We should do a review that movie.
Oh, we got to do
100%. 100%. I love that when it came out. But yeah, for sure, man. And you said something interesting. You said this is already it was already sold out. And it's pay-per-view material, bro. This Nitro, every Nitro is pay-per-view material in 1998.
They're going head to head with Raw, but at the same time, they really try to keep Nitro strong. It always had these big matches. When they came out with Nitro, they didn't take out any of the other WCW shows. And it's not because before there was WCW Saturday Night, that was their biggest show.
Right.
And then they created Nitro. And WCW Saturday Night, it always had one or two big matches with bigger names. And then that was it, you know? When they made Nitro, it was all these main events. And it was just on top of Saturday Night. They made it even better. So it had only guys you know against guys you know, basically, you know.
We were just talking about that 95 when they first launched the show. Every effing show was a main event of a pay-per-view. Man, those shows were better, and the pay-per-views were good in 95. Don't get me wrong, but not as good as the Nitro. You still wanted to pay.
Were actually better than the pay-per-views.
They set the bar high for the paper, for the pay-per-views, and totally, man, honestly. And they had the roster and the writing to go head to head, toe to toe with WWE at the time. So it's just, it's sad because again, we covered 99, a bit of 99, 2000, so it looks very, cheap compared to what they were pulling off in 98. So when I didn't look, man. I was tired, super tired, and I was awake for the whole show because it was interesting.
Yeah, it keeps you into it. It makes you
absolutely,
want to watch
man. 100%. March 23rd, 1998, in good old Louisville, Kentucky, Sluggerville,
Jim Cornette's town.
Jim Cornette.
Yeah, so they sold out the arena here. We'll get right into the show.
Commentators, good old classic, Larry Zbyszko, Mike Tenay was
Tony
there.
Schiavone.
Tony Schiavone, the Brain.
I feel like he did appear at some point, but
he did at the beginning.
Zbyszko.
Okay, or later on, something must have happened because I remember Heenan.
Keep in mind, these Nitros, where we're at now, these were at the time where it had gone to 3 hours. So, even when Nitro started, there was a different announced team, hour 1, hour 2. Bischoff would normally only do hour 2, and they would bring in Zbyszko. Zbyszko would replace Bischoff.
Right. Because they had a big show, 3 hours, man.
This is it. That's it. It's even as long as a pay-per-view every week.
Big time.
And they had already started doing Thunder at this time. WWE had not started SmackDown yet, though.
No, they had I think WWE had Raw and Shotgun at that time. Is it possible?
And Heat might have started. It was Heat was pretty good.
Right. It was very yes. Heat was pretty good. Shotgun was okay, and then you had good old Raw.
Yeah,
But
Raw was
SmackDown was
just a little long.
99, if I remember.
Yeah, SmackDown started later on. Yeah, so let's get into it. We started out with Roddy Piper coming out doing a promo. He is assuming like a kind of front office role. He's going to be like the sheriff guy, like the counterpoint to Bischoff, because they find, I guess they're saying like the TBS executives are saying that there's too much like NWO influence or something,
They needed to
basically,
balance it out with the WCW,
which does make sense.
represent. Yeah, man. Because I mean, they showered us like we love the NWO, but not too much every episode and every pay-per-view. So you had to have a balance. And Piper, which is amazing. Rest in
And I
peace,
mean, at this
legend.
point, finally, Hogan's not the champion anymore.
Right.
The fans are going to be happy about that. So like they need a way to keep like
Balance.
Sting like somehow credibly champion, because otherwise Bischoff would just be like, okay, you're fighting like Nash, then Hall, then Hogan, and like
Absolutely, and it's over and
cycling the
over,
wheel
and
over and over.
yeah, WCW would have died then, right there and then, if they continued doing that, right? And don't forget, Sting was WCW. He's the leader of Team WCW, dude. Like really. So good stuff, honestly, man. Let's opening match. Good treat. Honestly, wakes you up after a long shift. Ultimo Dragon, who wrestles Chavo. Chavo comes out with Eddie.
With Eddie, yeah.
Who makes him apologize? Says, you know, he's a disgrace, right?
Yeah, he's like
apologize to grandma.
Yeah, apologize to
everyone.
grandma. That was a good line.
And it was pretty sad. You felt it. You're like, dude, you can't do that. And Eddie, bro, to be honest, like you said last time, amazing heel. He was a psychopath as a heel. Like he's crazy.
Yeah. He looks
legend.
like, it's like, what's wrong with this guy? Like,
don't want to mess with this guy. Absolutely.
Yeah, he did great. And as we said last week, Ultimo Dragon is just awesome, you know.
100%.
Chavo was in his earlier stages of his career here. Even Chavo now is like pretty much considered a legend, you know.
Absolutely, man. He came a long way, man. And man, when you saw him in WCW, you knew. Like when I watched the match, I was like, now I know why Chavo became big. You know, he's great, talented, comes from a legendary family. Started out WCW for sure. WCW, right?
Exactly. Like Chavo, basically, I guess through Eddie Guerrero, like got signed as a rookie by WCW.
But he was talented. It's not like Hogan signed. Who was it? Not Ed Leslie. He was good. We liked Ed Leslie. His Horace, bro. Horace. What the fuck? Horace Hogan was so pointless in his big ass forehead. But not taking any away, but Horace, you know, Hogan, like he was like pointless.
Devoid of any kind of charisma.
Yeah, absolutely, man. But great match, honestly. It didn't last long. Obviously, Ultimo's the seasoned veteran here. Took the win. Very entertaining, honestly. Like I still like the way they all started with the cruiserweight and get you excited, high flying action. It was really a touch of WCW. That was a signature.
Definitely. Yeah, start off the show with a cruiserweight match, and yeah, Ultimo wins. He was definitely like in the higher, like up of the cruiserweights. There was a hierarchy in the cruiserweights.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah. So then, Eddie cuts that hilarious promo. And then like Bischoff and Hogan come out, and basically they're ranting and raving, typical Hogan Bischoff, super heel, and they're setting up a feud with Piper, you know. They're calling Piper a midget, and Piper's like aligning with the Giant, who like, he looks bigger here even than he looks as the Big Show. He looks like
he was massive, dude. Because don't forget, I think as you age, you lose a bit of height. I think I don't know, or if it was the boots he wore, but dude,
he looked wearing lift boots as well.
Yeah, but, like, dude, but he was massive and he was built like you know. As you get older, you gain more weight, as a bit more fat. But bro, he looked lean and big, right? Like he was like monstrous. So he was truly the biggest giant of the wrestling world at that time, like you know. And what's the big guy called? He was in the oddities.
Kurgan or Silva?
Giant Silva. He was big, but he was thin. Giant was built, bro. He was pretty stocky, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he wasn't
compared
like
to
tall and thin. He
no
had like a
Kurgan.
big build. He was more
Kurgan, yeah.
like built like Andre the Giant.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Leaner for sure.
So then, yeah, so that's setting up towards the next pay-per-view because in these days, of course, like WWE and WW and WCW, they had this pattern, which like it got predictable, but like it was cool anyways.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we knew that like when a pay-per-view would be done, it would be like, okay, you got to set up the next feud right away, like for the next pay-per-view.
And it's
So
not to
like
rush, it's just to
it
keep you
kind of felt
excited.
like
Like,
hasty a bit, but
yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
that was the speed of wrestling at the time. That was like normal.
Because you
Shit
had
would
the
come
other
at you like at 1,000 miles an hour. You're watching the show.
absolutely, because you had another promotion that could do whatever you thought of, and they would not
Exactly.
steal each other's ideas, but they're like, okay, I'm going to be the first one to do this, so they would rush always to promote the next pay-per-view and then hype you up, and it was fast-paced, like you said. It wasn't like building up, it was just fast-paced. And
Yeah.
bro, with the roster they had, they pulled it off, to be
Oh
honest.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah. You could have all kinds of different feuds. That's one thing that they had, a different roster where you could like really mix it up. So then yeah, we get our second match. Scott Steiner with Buff Bagwell taking on Wayne Bloom, who we see for the second time in a row here.
Wade Bloom, your guy, he was big. It was
He's big
actually
here.
he was big, man, and it's funny we put him against Big Papa Pump, who would become probably the most insane wrestler later on, right?
Yeah, this is
But
like the beginning of Big Papa Pump.
yeah,
He's still like, I think they only called him Big Papa Pump once throughout the match. He has superstar like airbrushed onto his tights,
right.
and they're calling him like the superstar.
They
I
called him
think
also Big Daddy Cool, not Big Daddy Cool, something like that. Big Daddy Cool, I heard.
yeah, they were trying different stuff with him at this
Yeah,
point. He was still developing the
yeah.
character.
Which came later on, the Big Bad Booty Daddy, but they called him Big Daddy Cool. So you saw the like the beginnings of the Papa Pump
Yeah,
insane
exactly. They're building
gimmick,
it.
bro.
They're going towards it. Yeah. And I always thought him and Buff were pretty funny together, pretty good. Like Steiner was like the crazier one, and Buff was like the funny guy beside
He was
him.
the instigator, funny guy, and
Yeah.
bro, he was such an he was kind of like me in high school. He was me behind you, like I'd always be instigating, and then you were definitely Scott Steiner at the time. So Buff Bagwell very much like me in high school, and that's why I love him. But no, yeah, it started their duo. Like they were great heels, bro. They were
Yeah.
super. Like you just were disgusted of them. You wanted to, like as they started, doing more segments together, you really hated them because they were big heels. But it was the combo that started with these two around '98, which was cool to see, because we
Yeah.
know what happens in the future. So going back
That's
to
it. It's
this
like
was fun
looking, yeah.
to see, hey man, this is how
It
Batman
worked
became
out. It was
Batman.
cool. Yeah.
So it was a good origin always. Entertaining match. Obviously, Scott Steiner dominates him. He gives him a Frankensteiner.
Yeah.
He gives him a Frankensteiner. Bro, he's pretty big, man. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yeah. As
still
we were
very
saying
built.
last week, Wayne Bloom is like maybe like 6'4".
He
The guy's
is
huge.
200 something pounds, bro. He's a big guy for real. And Steiner just ragdolled him with a Frankensteiner, and then he applies the recliner on him and ends up
And
beating
that's
him.
it.
Quick
Yeah.
match, honestly, but I wouldn't say Wade Bloom is like, he is a jobber, but he was a pretty legit jobber because he was big. It's not like he beat
He's
some
big and he
150
has
pound guy.
like he has a name. I mean, if people remembered him in the Beverly Brothers,
But yes, we
that's it.
definitely
Like they
part of that
totally
tag team.
like didn't refer to that gimmick at all here in
Right,
WCW. He's just Wayne Bloom. And
right.
WCW did that a lot. It's very like Barry Darso. Like
Yeah, for sure.
Barry
Barry
Darso
Darso
now.
came out as Barry Darso. Ray Trailer came out as Ray
There
Trailer.
you go. Exactly. A bunch of other guys, same thing. Yeah.
Mike Rotunda came out as Mike Rotunda.
Yeah. That's it. These were the guys that, yeah, they were kind of like filler, but yeah, like a big guy, and he looked like a credible opponent for Papa here a bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So then we're going on Lodi versus Psychosis.
Psychosis. That was entertaining. Like I was like, what a random Lodi, but to be honest, the way it was structured, the card, I didn't mind. I didn't even see it as a jobbing match. It was super entertaining, to be honest.
Psychosis was a awesome character.
Amazing.
And Lodi, it reminded me, he was because in WCW Revenge, if you would go for the cruiserweight title, you could only pick certain guys who were like eligible, and Lodi was one of them. And I was always like, I don't remember him having that many like cruiserweight matches or being involved in the cruiserweight division that much.
Well,
But
there's
here's the
one.
match he was. He was
Exactly.
like the second cruiserweight of the flock after Kidman.
You had Kidman, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I remember that game. You had to be eligible because the weight category. You couldn't pick big guys. You're doing cruiserweights. So, but I kind of forgot Lodi was in the cruiserweight scene. So when I saw it, like you said last night, I said, "Oh, yeah, it makes sense for sure." But I remember Lenny. Yeah, it was Lodi and who? They became a
Lodi and
tag team later.
Lenny,
Yeah, Lenny
who
and
we'll
Lodi.
see later on in
Yeah,
the show. Yeah,
very weird gimmick. Well, nothing but like they were.
ambiguous.
Yeah, super ambiguous. You really can't get away with that today. It's super offensive, WCW. But again, don't forget we're 98, 99. This is where
It
everything
was
bloomed
part of it. It was par for
for
the
sure.
course. It was like
Good match. It didn't last long. Psychosis, like usual, exhibiting amazing cruiserweight, great lucha type wrestling, bro. One error they made is losing his mask. To be honest, later on, which sucks, bro.
yeah,
It is the
agreed.
biggest smack in the face for a lucha to,
He had a cool
lose.
mask. He's not like he didn't need. Not everyone needed to lose their masks. I don't mind some guys having lost their masks.
Yes, some of them went on to become bigger, but not Ray. Ray, remember, lost his mask, then he was just cool, but then he came back to WWE with his mask, and that's where he bloomed even more and became a megastar, to be honest. So
Well,
like
yeah,
megastar.
yeah. And the kids just love Ray. Like he's probably one of the most popular wrestlers ever
Yo,
with
bro,
kids.
619, bro.
And I mean, hey, me too. I'll always love Ray for sure.
He's on the cover for 2K22, by the way. Every time I put it up, he's just there with his
Yeah.
contacts. Love it, bro. Love it.
Rey Mysterio, man, who we don't see on the show. Like they have a big roster here. One guy I'll mention that we haven't seen in the last 3 shows of this era, and he's there. Like because I looked into it, I was like, where is Ric Flair at this time? He's just like not booked.
He's not booked because all his friends were booking, right? He was friends with everyone, so he didn't have to. But yeah, it's true. You're right. We haven't seen Ric Flair in a century. There, right?
Like,
So
where's Flair? What was he doing at this
I
time? I
think he
don't
was
really
taking
remember.
vacations, bro. It's Ric Flair. He was a big icon, so he
Yeah.
was probably milking the cow by not coming in the shows, getting paid massive salaries, and
Take a couple months off.
I
They
think
had
we see
such a
him
big
more later
roster.
on in '98. Like we see him a lot in '90, like near the end. I think a lot of guys switch with vacations, right? And but bro, it didn't show because like yes, you knew Ric Flair was in there, but they had such a big roster, bro.
Exactly.
In 2000, it showed when someone was being lazy and not coming in shows, right?
Yeah,
Because you
because
had
they
like
got rid
a
of guys.
smaller, yeah, exactly, bro. So in '98, you could get away with that, and they pulled it off perfectly, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, so then we get one of our main events of the night. We get the world title defended here, kind of in the middle of the show. US champion DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, babyface at the time, mind you, going against mega babyface at the time, world
Sting.
champion Sting. Kind of weird it being in the middle of the show, but not if you think back to it. Like we were saying before, they like shot so much stuff at you. It was like
Back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Opening fight and
it's
a
like they
huge name
wanted to
fight.
give the fans almost too much. It's like you go to a restaurant and the guy's like, "Oh, you want a steak?" Like, and just like shoots you a steak out, but you had already ordered like you're not even like that's your
Done
appetizer.
eating
Here's the
your
steak. And you're like,
appetizers,
what the
yeah, and he
fuck?
throws
Like,
steak with potatoes right away on
you're like,
you
that's
with some
good. It's
corn.
awesome. But then you're
Yeah.
full and like everyone's already not even done the
Overindulging, and I think that's part of the reason why they might have killed WCW. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't know if you understand, but they poured so much storylines. They could have stretched this out with the roster they had, but
sure.
at the time, bro, they wanted to make millions and millions, which they did. But in the long run, that's what hurt them, I think, a bit.
And it's they got to keep the fans interested like throughout 3 hours here. I think the first hour went like unopposed because Raw always stayed 2 hours. I think Raw was 9 to 11 and Nitro was 8 to 11. So they had the first hour, they went unopposed. So like the first hour they could kind of like mess around, right? I think this might have started like right when Raw started, basically, or maybe like the second segment or something.
Right.
Because like they they'd start like it started out WCW doing this, mixing it up, because Raw at first had like the normal booking, the main event
Right.
at the beginning,
Right.
but then like to keep the viewers so glued in, because you got the other show putting on like a very similar product. It's both wrestling, so like to keep them tuned in, you had to like get rid of matches of like no jobber matches almost. Like the guy had to be like something, or like you couldn't just put one interesting match at the end of the show. No one's gonna watch a 3-hour show for one interesting match, you know? So
Absolutely.
WWE, what they would do a lot is like Austin segments throughout the whole thing,
Yeah.
like pissing off McMahon. WCW, they'd have a lot of Bischoff and Hogan like promos, NWO promos, and then they had such a big roster that they would just throw matches in like this.
Right. Right. For sure. And yeah, man, they could afford it for sure.
Yeah.
So and that was the beauty in '98. But again, in the long run, they ran out of ideas and things like that. So it was repetitive. But in '98, it was the prime. That's why we call it the prime. And again, they pulled it off, made millions of dollars, bro, and beat WWE quite a long time for that.
Yeah. Like Nitro was definitely built like a bunch of like mini shows, kind of like they'd have like a pretty good match, but like between two up and comers, then like maybe a not so good match, but one guy who's good, then have like a really big match. But
Yeah.
then after that big match, it might come back with like two guys that aren't necessarily that good, you know?
And also they didn't do that on pay-per-views. You just realized they did it on Nitro. Like pay-per-views, they structured it properly.
Exactly.
Like uncensored, you had
It was very, they
it was
very
very
much
structured.
structured the
You had Sting
pay-per-view.
versus Hall, and then you for the title near the end, and then you had the cage match, which was,
The main event,
the main event, obviously.
Yeah, they
two
always structured their
biggest,
pay-per-views like traditionally,
yeah,
for sure.
which was good.
Nitro was always different like that. So yeah, DDP Sting, what a match.
That was amazing. Technical, both doing signature moves, two huge names, bro. Big, like you said, mega baby faces, back and forth, because it's not like Sting dominated him.
No, yeah, it was really back and forth, and the ending
Very
kind of came
balanced.
out of nowhere, and it left both guys like, they could wrestle again. We want to see this match again.
I actually almost teared when I saw it, because they gave each other, the respect. It was random because, bro, Sting got up and did the
Yeah, he even does the diamond
the
cutter
diamond, and he
everything.
gets back up, grabs them, puts them on the turnbuckle, and then they look at each other, and that they're gonna hug. They hug, and amazing. So you saw Team WCW again, join forces. So that was cool. I love DDP back then. Used to always pick him in video games with Sting. Great match, honestly. And DDP, man, really, to be honest, made a name for himself.
Yeah.
In WCW.
Oh yeah, this was his real like rise up. And
main event,
I really like
main
the
event
ending.
material.
Like he goes for the diamond cutter kind of out of nowhere, then Sting reverses it out of nowhere
into a
like
death drop. Love it.
1, 2, 3.
I was like, I thought it was gonna be DQ, to be honest, because I was like, how are they going to balance the two big baby faces? But no, Sting got a nice clean win. But with the respect after, you still saw DDP as still a runner-up for possibly the heavyweight title later. So it's not like he jumped to him.
It was also keeping the U.S. title strong, because him as U.S. champion, he was a very credible mid-card champion. It made that title very prestigious.
Big time.
It was like,
big time.
No one's gonna beat DDP, or so we thought. It was a very good title at the time. Then we get I'll just mention this. We get a Nitro party tape, which is like hilarious. A bunch of they had this every week. You would send in like a VHS of like people hanging out. Mostly it was in like college like frat houses.
Yeah.
And it would be like a bunch of mostly guys in their early 20s. And it was them like mostly drinking beer and eating snacks and watching Nitro, filming each other. This one in particular, they had like different snacks. I can't remember what they were called. Like fucking Chavo Dip or
Yeah, like
fucking
branded names. Yeah, for sure. Trying to push some snacks out, marketing. I like these little bro, it's so 90s to be honest. That was so 90s.
anything involving
Is
sending us in a VHS or like just VHS. I just absolutely love that era. It just reminds me so much of being a kid and
it
wanting to
does,
fucking
bro.
do that. But
All their
my
food.
tape would have been lame. Like me and maybe Dan Coughlin from
Oh,
back in the
classic
day
lineup.
would have been watching Nitro, maybe eating Doritos and drinking Pepsi, just us two. So I don't know
Not
if our tape would
not
have made the
not
tape.
Surge or Mountain Dew, bro.
Oh, Mountain Dew. Yeah, Mountain Dew, you know what? It was always on special. I remember when I was a kid. So I would buy it a lot. But like it would make my stomach hurt if I drank too
Oh,
much.
bro, I remember those days, dude. Terrible stuff. Even Surge, bro. I was like, oh, I saw this as a commercial. I bought it, bro, and my stomach hurt. And man, when you're a kid, you see that on TV, you're gonna want to buy it right away. You're like, oh shit, I saw it on WCW. I'm gonna buy it.
Oh yeah,
Probably
and
tastes
these
amazing.
days, those days, quick, just a quick mention about this. If you ever get your hands on, this is for everyone, not just you. If anyone gets their hands on any kind of TV shows geared towards kids or teenagers from the late 90s to early 2000s, they're just shooting out snack ads that are like so sugary. Like that was like the height of bad food. And then they're like, how come all the kids are getting obese? That was our era. When all the kids were fat, that was our era.
Yes, and you remember in high school they started. Remember they used to sell soda and chips in the machines, and at some point they're like, "No more. We're gonna sell carrots."
Yeah, that was our era, was the era where they were like, we're cutting that shit out. But that was only in maybe like 03, 04. 99, 98, 2000, 2001. This was like, man, I watched some ads for like kids cartoons from that era to watch back as nostalgia, and like it's like Lucky Charms, just the marshmallows though, but sugar covered, and that's a cereal.
Oh my god, bro, that was all sugar.
Oh yeah, man. The snacks at the time were out of control. Definitely out of control. So yeah, man, that was where society was.
Everything was
And
sugary. Fruit Loops had more sugar. Everything you bought, bro, was disgusting.
no, but
They
and
had
no,
no
but
loss
in
for
that
it.
era, they
Yeah.
would take shit to the next level. It would be like sugar covered Fruit Loops.
Marshmallows, yeah, or sugar covered milk chocolate already has tons of sugar. So they got away with that. There was no laws, and people weren't as educated, we'll say,
And
at the time.
internet was like becoming more and more popular. People were sitting at home more and more for the first time instead of like going out to the park. People would just chill at home all day, more and more, you know.
Absolutely.
And we already had cable TV, and this
Cable
is
was the
what
best,
we're
bro. That
talking
was
about here.
cable TV era,
The
man.
height
Honestly.
of cable TV here, WCW, and you could tell that like not only were they competing here Nitro with WWF, but like if you had a cable package, they were putting on good shows on the other channels, man, too. Like I don't know what other shows were happening on Monday at this time,
Yeah.
but it was a very strong time for TV because the internet wasn't around yet. There wasn't streaming out yet. There wasn't even satellite was like in its infancy, you know.
Satellite, bro, was like having a PS5 today or a new gen
There
console,
you go.
right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
satellite was a yeah, for sure, man. We got satellite, I think, like 99, to be honest, 98, end of 98, like was big for us.
The companies started pushing it more and more.
So I think that's why they want to go all out. At the time they did super shows because they wanted to promote all that stuff on TV, and
It was
makes
like a
sense, bro.
ratings war, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, man. So then our next match, we get Rick Fuller taking on Lex Luger, and Lex Luger, big time babyface here. Um, yeah, this felt like a reset. Like it felt like that DDP Sting match was like really like a main event kind of thing. This was like a come down match, but still with a big enough star that it keeps your interest. It's Luger, and the other guy's huge. Rick Fuller, 375 pounds.
Yes, if you realize the commentators kept pointing that out because Luger, when you looked at him, you knew he was a bodybuilder looking massive guy, and Fuller didn't look small next to him. So they
No,
didn't
no.
they didn't want to make him look like a jobber by saying, oh yeah, like they're like, look, he's just as big as Luger. So they kind of gave him a little push there by saying that. And yeah, Fuller wasn't some little jobber, bro. He was a big guy, to be honest. He was pretty
Yeah,
big.
yeah. WCW, they had like we've seen earlier with Wayne Bloom and now Rick Fuller, like
Yeah,
they use these big
big dudes, bro.
jobbers, like
So
enhance
it
their
was,
talent.
to be honest, to the eyes, it was more appealing to see, a bigger guy,
Well, yeah, it looks more credible. And if someone like to a kid
yeah, they were
looks
massive, bro. It
impressive,
was Goliath versus, yeah, man, it was a mega Goliath
and just the
versus
fact that he
Goliath.
could get him up in the rack, like
Yeah,
the torture rack, Lex Luger,
propelled Luger into being such a monster. So
Yeah, but yeah, so this is just kind of a throwaway match.
I
Luger's out
think
there
about three
doing his
minutes it
thing.
lasted. Luger, we knew Luger was going to win, but again, he's up against the big guy, so you knew the big guy was going to give him a bit of trouble before he gets the win. Kind of obvious, but as a kid, you don't know that. You
Like,
understand? Like
can he do it? Like the
yeah,
whole thing is like, can he torture rack him or is he gonna win with something else?
yeah, exactly. There you go. So yeah, for sure, bro. Pretty good match. Then we jump to Guerrero Eddie, who comes, obviously is accompanied by Chavo. Defeats our boy Kaz Hayashi, which I like too. He's a great Japanese
Yeah,
wrestler.
this is like the
Um,
beginning of Kazayashi. He's
yeah,
there till all the way till the end of WCW. But yeah, I don't think he ever held the cruiserweight title or
no,
anything. He
no, he
was
was always in the
always
scene. He was always in the
yeah.
scene, but I don't think they ever pushed him, bro. They
He
had,
wasn't
other
really
plans.
like pushed really in storylines or anything. No, I
Probably
think
was well paid, bro. Also, as well, he
sure.
wrestled, I think, in Japan, so he didn't really, WCW didn't really have to, push him. I think that's my opinion.
Yeah, no, and like just being on WCW at the time was like
Yeah, it was big,
a
bro,
big
for
deal.
sure. You go
But
from
yeah,
Japan to the big leagues for sure.
Eddie Eddie makes quick work of him. Eddie's great, it's always good to see Eddie against another quick guy too. But Eddie can wrestle against anyone, I
Yeah,
mean,
absolutely. He got bigger later on, but he was a good cruiserweight. I think in WWE he was massive.
yeah,
He
he
got
got bigger
bigger.
for sure.
He
But
got
he was also
much
on
bigger.
drugs, and that's kind of one of the reasons he died.
Pretty sad, man,
Yeah. Rest in peace, Eddie
for
Guerrero.
sure.
After that, we get a Bret Hart promo video package, which honestly I thought was kind of lame.
No comments,
Um,
but yeah, I agree. No comment, but I mean, don't forget he just freshly came from WWE, right? Like a couple of months, and they really misused the shit out of Bret Hart, bro. That's sad. Every
his
time I see
video
him,
is
I cringe a
basically
bit.
him like, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna take any crap.
yeah. Which is cool, but again, no, it didn't pass. Like they misused the shit out of him, bro. And don't forget, Bret is an icon for us Canadians, big time, bro. Like he's one of the all-time greats,
For sure.
if not
And
the
like
biggest
thing
all-time
is,
great.
um they what I found weird, they used him a lot in these like appearance roles. Like at one point he was just like Hogan's buddy, if you remember that. In the the short time he was in the NWO. A lot of the times he would just do promos and like if you want to get the most out of Bret Hart, just make him wrestle.
Yeah, because that's where he shined. He was good at doing promos, but they held him back, bro.
Like imagine if they would have had right here Bret Hart against Eddie Guerrero.
That would have been good. Great technical
It would have
match,
been a memorable match,
amazing. Oh my
I
god, bro.
remember at one point Bret actually fought Booker T, which is a very good match.
Yes. US title, if I remember.
Yeah, it elevated Booker.
Amazing, bro. Yeah, and they're both great wrestlers. Like that's great. Or you'd see, I would have liked to see, like a Raven versus Bret
Bret,
Hart.
yeah.
I think we saw Benoit versus Hart later in
Yeah,
'99. Did they
yeah,
ever
we did,
wrestle
yeah.
'98?
I don't think so.
Or Bret Hart versus Jericho?
No, we didn't see that.
That would have been
See, that would have been
amazing.
cool. Yeah.
That would have been
We've
amazing.
seen Bret versus
Saturn.
DDP, but we
Yeah,
could
that's
have seen
good.
more. We could have seen
Then we
more of that.
saw Bret versus Savage when Savage was Wolfpack. That was good, but again, Savage, big name, main eventer. So, but yeah, there's a lot of matchups that he would have fared really well and shined out his wrestling because, bro, he was just an amazing wrestler. Like you said, they brought him in the Starrcade '97 as a special guest referee. Really didn't make sense, and then they threw him in the NWO. Right? Was this
For a
after
very
NWO?
short time.
Yeah, like it
And
was very
then this
weird,
is his
bro.
like initial real face
Yeah, like run
run
by
here.
himself, like bullshit with the NWO, like fucking ruined it. But yeah, I mean, kind of lame, but
Yeah.
meh.
Well, we'll see Brett more later on in the
Later,
show here. Yeah. Then we
next
see
match.
Conan representing the NWO taking on Prince Iakea. And yeah, Prince
Good match.
Iakea, he was at one time a TV champion. Like a lot of people don't remember it, but he got kind of well booked in WCW.
He was pushed, like you said. We spoke about this. You said he was pushed a lot. He even won the cruiserweight title later on, 2000,
Yeah,
as
exactly. And then
the artist, formerly
yeah, the artist.
known as
And then
Prince.
he was managed by Charmel, who went on to become a Hall of Famer. So who
Right.
knows? Would she have ever been a Hall of Famer without her epic run with the artist?
Right. And this was he held that he held that title for quite a while, man. The
Oh yeah,
cruiserweight
I
title.
remember him even having a match, a competitive match against Macho Man once on Nitro. So yeah, he picks up the win against Conan, which I was
That
extremely
was an
surprised.
upset. I really was surprised. I was like, oh, bro, Conan's gonna win his NWO, but no, man. He actually, it was a hangman. I think he gave him a hangman suplex. What was it?
Yeah,
The finish, yeah, he gave him
yeah,
like
yep,
a hangman
that's it.
suplex, and he got the win, bro. Super big upset. Like we see a lot of upsets in MMA these days, but as a wrestling match, it's kind of rare to see
Yeah,
upsets. Like when
yeah,
1-2-3 Kid beat Scott Hall, that was a huge upset. Remember,
yeah.
back in the day for sure. So this was a big upset too. I
Speaking
expected
of
Conan.
that was made me think. I was thinking about this. Sean Waltman, X Pac. That this very month was his first month as X Pac in WWF.
WW.
The month before, but he didn't directly come. He had not appeared in WCW for a couple months, and then went to
Oh yeah, he didn't
WWF.
jump straight,
Yeah, yeah. It wasn't
Bret
like he was
Hart
there
or
one day and then
Rick Rude, who's known for
exactly
that. He
on the
showed up on
same
both.
show on the same
Yeah,
night.
he showed up to both shows on the same night. So yeah,
But
I don't know
one
if
thing,
that was.
yeah, this is what I was thinking about. The NWO, they never replaced Six, as they never had another cruiserweight NWO guy.
I think simply, and this is my theory, it's because Curtain Call, they're boys, they're bros, right? So I don't think they wanted to replace him
They're
with
like, we
another
can't replace
cruiserweight.
Six. There's no
He's
one
our
who can
brother. He's
replace him.
part of a, yeah, bro. I mean, Curtain Call, they were the clique, bro. So they
Out of
probably didn't,
respect of
out
for
of respect,
Six, they
bro,
never
for sure.
replaced him.
For sure. So good point you make. So I realized that too. No, you can't really replace Six. He was one of the beginning,
Yeah,
members of the
but that would have
NWO.
been a good role. Like if they had picked someone for that role, that would have been maybe a good push for someone, you know?
Yeah, wasn't Kaz Hayashi and Great Muda and the NWO at some point
Not
in
Kazayashi.
'97? No, it wasn't
NW
Kazuyashi. It was
Muda, yes.
Muda. Muda was the NWO. He had the NWO, and that was in '97, if I remembered.
Yeah.
That was like early
Even
'97,
maybe even 96. Like it was
'96.
at the very beginning of the
Beginning of it.
NWO.
Okay, not Kazuyashi. I always get confused with both.
That's it. No, so yeah, I thought that they could have done that, but maybe there was just no one that they thought fit the mold. Yeah, I found it kind of weird that Conan lost this match to Iakea, that he came out with no other NWO members, and then no NWO guys interfered or anything, which was like, whoa. And I don't mind, but
Yeah,
like
usually, yeah. I know. Like, it's fine not to see it, but usually they do come out, even if it's
normally like Scott Norton or
yeah,
Brian Adams would have been there or
some
something.
bullshit like that. But I mean, it was good. I mean, we don't want to
Yeah.
see them come out all the time, bro, because
No,
they
no,
do come
that's
out
it.
later again, type thing. So, yeah, it was
Yeah.
entertaining. Good
Then we
match.
get Jericho, who cuts a promo.
always cuts an amazing promo, and it's so funny because I watch him on AEW how he has aged. He's aged well, but like you could tell this young hotshot Jericho, bro. Like
Just in
he's
like a
just,
cutoff t-shirt,
oh man, he
like
was so young looking, bro, and
such a
he
like young like asshole, you
he
know?
was, bro, such a good heelish type, and you could tell, man, that he was going to become big. He was one of the, when they say they kept a lot of guys down and not pushed him. Jericho, I think, is the face of that. Like all the cruiserweights, right? Jericho was the guy that comes first to mind,
Still
like
wrestling
when,
for the cruiserweight title when the guy
yeah,
could have been
bro,
like almost
TV
main
title. Yeah,
eventing. He was
look at
that
him now,
talented,
bro.
man.
He if I remember correctly, he defeated Triple H and Stone Cold.
The Rock and Stone Cold in the same
Yeah,
night.
bro, to win the undisputed heavyweight title. Remember Triple
Yeah.
H and Stone Cold. So he
And
became
that
the
was
big.
like 20 years ago, and he's still
Yes,
wrestling
bro.
now.
Yeah, bro. So my hat to Chris Jericho, Faze, who my brother loves listening. He picked me up last time, and I was like, bro, are you listening to Faze? He's like, fuck yeah, man, Faze. But amazing skills. But it was sad they only kept him for TV cruiserweight. Cruiserweight was a good start. He was smaller, right?
Yeah.
But he should have moved on to US and possibly heavyweight later. But he had left and found his success, bro, in WWE, man. When remember when he debuted, that was massive, bro.
It was.
The
Yeah.
pop that he got was insane,
They
bro.
built him up really, really well. I mean, compared to how they bring up guys today, that's when they really
Y2J,
knew how to build a star, you
big
know?
time.
Yeah. But Jericho was here building himself as a star. Lenny Lane comes out and says he owes him $1,000. Jericho's like, no, you owe me $1,000 because you stretched out my tights, because they had done like a switcheroo thing where Lenny Lane was impersonating Jericho a couple
Right,
of
right.
years earlier.
And then he's like, I can't get the smell out, so you owe me $1,000.
Yeah.
Pretty entertaining.
Jericho beats Lenny Lane here.
Yeah, quickly.
Yeah, as we mentioned, like Lenny Lane later on, him and Lodi end up doing some controversial gimmick.
Ambiguous.
And then that's pretty much the end. They're like WCW. I mean, I don't remember them wrestling anywhere before, and I don't remember them wrestling anywhere after.
After, bro. He probably got a normal job after to
Yeah,
like,
they
fuck
didn't get
this.
signed by WWE, and that's it. There was
I
nowhere else
think
to work for a lot of these guys. ECW was closed.
no need, man.
Then next we had like what could have been another main event. Like maybe this was like the top of hour two or something, you know?
Right.
The Giant in a handicap match against Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash. Hogan didn't wrestle that much on Nitro, if you remember.
Yeah, no, he used to always come out and play with the guitar when he had the belt, cut promos all the time. I liked how he oversold everything. Like, remember when Giant grabbed him and just squeezed his hand and he was like, ah, like he was
Hogan was
such an
such a like
overselling.
chicken shit
He
fucking.
was, he was,
As a heel, he was like he was a really good heel.
he was.
Yeah, man. He looked really scared of the Giant. They're building up this whole feud, like the Nash Giant feud of like Nash was like the NWO Giant against like the Giant who had already been in the NWO. I think he even goes back to the NWO at one point. He was
Right,
always leaving and coming from the
right.
NWO. But at this point, yeah, like we had said before, this was the legit feud that people were like, damn, people wanted to see Nash and the Giant wrestle.
The Battle of the Giants, bro,
Yeah.
for sure. It was a handicap with little Eric Bischoff, trying to kick. He had some nice karate, he did Kyokushin, so you could tell, but man, he got choke slammed. And
Yeah,
I
Bischoff
loved
ends up getting choke
getting
slammed. That
choke
was like
slam, bro, and you can
awesome
just hear
moment.
the mat go bam. But I love the way he did the choke slam, bro, because the thud, because he was big, bro, so he grabbed you and then
Yeah.
he's on the knees, like he didn't do like a standing cane or
He kind of like
Undertaker.
slammed his whole body onto the mat at the same
Exactly.
time, so it like rumbled the ring.
And
And
bro, like
plus, it was a smaller ring, so he
it
looked even
was
bigger.
he looked big, bro. Which one was it where who was it? He jumped off the top rope and the ring collapsed. Was that on SmackDown or was that Brock Lesnar against him?
him and Brock Lesnar, yeah,
And
on
then the ring
SmackDown,
collapsed.
yeah.
Remember, bro? We talked about that in school. We're like, dude, did you see the fucking ring collapsed? Yeah, good shit, man. Honestly, this was a good fight, like a good match. It's still a continuation from Uncensored, from Nash feuding with um the Giant. The Giant obviously was Team WCW at this time. Um, Gets the win. Nash didn't look that lazy, did he? I don't forget.
No, actually, to his credit, I thought Nash, he worked hard against the Giant because he would sell for the Giant. Actually, he would
Yeah,
bump for the Giant,
yeah, makes sense. It's
which
not like
was
he was
rare.
fighting a little guy too,
So yeah,
yeah, he did that. Yeah, Nash wasn't lazy at that time. I think it just became later. This company was dying.
yeah,
So
I think the Giant, he was like a bigger star as the Giant than the Big Show. Like here, it's almost weird to see him like not as the Big Show and to remember him how he was as the Giant, because he was like scary, man. He was like dominant. And
that's
yeah,
true.
so he wins by DQ, and like the rest of the rest of the NWO comes in and jumps him. Not the rest of them, but like the Disciple, who was particularly useless at this time, but he's always backing up Hogan, Ed Leslie in his like 90th gimmick.
For real, bro. Worst, like, oh my god, all the gimmicks that he had. Brutus,
Looks like
but
an old bummy biker here.
it's his friend. I mean, Ed
Yeah.
Leslie was doing well, money Terry wise.
Oh yeah, he
Um,
was like purely on that
yeah, yeah.
Hogan gravy train. Like the second that we didn't see Hulk Hogan after Bash at the Beach 2000, you could say bye to freaking Ed Leslie, Horace Hogan, the Nasty Boys,
Bye
anyone else
bye.
that are like boys of Hogan.
Yeah, for real.
There's no other reason WCW was keeping those guys around.
No, bro, it's because of Hogan. So they owe a lot to Hogan. Um, so it was a good match. It was big names. You got Giant winning. Um, then we jump on to a very good match, bro.
Oh yeah,
Super. This I think was next to DDP and Sting, probably one of the best. No, there's
probably
another
the
one
best
after.
match of the night.
Yeah, they're like wrestling wise,
Oh
amazing.
yeah,
So we
oh yeah.
have Booker T defending his WCW World Television title against none other than Chris Benoit, who was very
Yeah,
talented, but again,
two of the top up and comers at the time, two of the top mid carders, two of the reasons WCW was kicking ass at the time. Like their mid card was awesome.
the mid card on this event was solid. So was before. So was the pay per view. So the two nitros we're doing, like this one and the other one, solid. Plus, I think this continues, man. The solid mid card all the way to 97, solid mid card, and 96, solid mid card.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
95 was a bit hazy. No, still
Yeah,
they had
no, but they
solid.
were built. That's when they were like building it up.
Exactly, but like
That's they were starting
94
to
and
sign guys for Nitro. That's when they
90,
really. Before that, no, their mid card was like.
mostly on wrestlecrap.com, but
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
uh so yeah, it was fairly long. I'd say almost 10 minutes back and
Well,
forth. Let me
it went up to 10 minutes because
it was a
the
draw
TV title, yeah,
limit.
it was a time limit draw and they had the time limit of 10 minutes. So this is building up to their best of 7 series, which they're going to end up having later on this year. And yeah, they had a great rivalry, Benoit and Booker T.
And I like Booker T's attire. Those classic black and red flame pants, bro, are
Yeah,
amazing.
exactly.
Like I had the figure. I own that figure of Booker T. Remember the one Toy Biz? It came with the piece of the ring.
Yeah.
You could put four together
There
and it
was a
became a ring.
Benoit in the same collection.
Absolutely, but that Benoit was not articulated. His hands were like that, so there was some wrestling moves I couldn't do with him. Remember?
I just had a flash of something. Okay. I think Benoit was wearing the same tights that he was wearing on this show as that figure.
That figure. You had the blue
And
one or the red one? You had the blue one,
black.
right? Because because there was a variation. There is the black one, a blue one, and a red one, red pants.
Yeah, there was a lot of
Variations.
Yeah.
Same with Booker T. He had the classic white pants with the yellow
Oh,
and
he
red
had the
flames.
black too. Yeah, it might have even had the red at some point. But the Scott Steiner on that collection
Was from this show.
because he has a silver star on his
on
tights,
it,
and I was
and
always like, when did he have a silver star on his tights?
I
I thought
realized
that
that
was
last
just
night.
for the figure.
You know,
To add a little decoration on the figure.
no, it was last night.
Maybe the guy when they were designing the tights, they watched this Nitro.
Absolutely, his hair and even his goatee. Because remember, he had a little with just a little streak of black.
Yeah.
I used to always see him differently, but this is what they and this is weird. This is what they modeled those toys in 99, 2000 from 98. Like you said,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
they
Because
sold,
these
bro.
figures took a while to come out.
That's it, and it was
Weird,
already
eh?
late. But so it's
But
weird.
yeah,
It's funny. It's funny you saw that.
little history things, making connections here. So then next match, Kurt Hennig taking on British Bulldog. And this whole like Mr. Perfect, well, Kurt Hennig being with Rick Rude, and at the pay-per-view he fought Brett. Here he's fighting Bulldog. I find this is very like throwback WW. This feels like WWF matches from the two eras before. Like during the Attitude Era of this era, we don't think that like, oh yeah, Bulldog and Mr. Perfect were still wrestling each other. These guys have been wrestling each other since like '89 in WWF.
Right. Right.
Like
Also,
9 years before.
yeah, for sure. No, for sure. Also, yeah, these are two classics. Like, come on, man. Ravishing Rick, you had Mr. Perfect and British Bulldog, man. Those were the golden age of WWE. And like we're talking 92, 91, I think, to all the way to 95, 96 even, bro. Mr. Perfect left a little earlier than everyone, I think. I think Mr. Perfect was the first one to leave.
Well, he had like weird injuries that kept him out of action for a while. Now, then eventually came back to wrestling. I think in like late '96. I think Bischoff. I think he had taken allegedly had taken a insurance thing, an insurance policy, and then he claimed on it, so he couldn't wrestle anymore. But then Bischoff wanted him so bad that WCW reimbursed like $1 million to the insurance company so that he could like actually wrestle.
Right. Yeah, okay, I didn't know that. That's pretty.
Yeah,
that's a lot of technical,
like
bro.
that.
That's something new I learned. The prez, only from the prez. Good match,
Bulldog
honestly.
wins by DQ.
DQ because everyone came out, and that's when Bret Hart came out and cleaned the ring. He cleaned house.
Bret Hart
Don't forget.
comes back out, backing up Bulldog.
Because he's married to his sister, so he has to, bro. They're family.
I think at the same time, I think he literally had to get Bulldog a job and Anvil because like his wife and rest of his family would be like, why would you like fuck them over? You can't just leave them there.
But he had the power to do it, and he did.
Yeah,
and bro, Anvil was a good wrestler, and Bulldog.
They're stars, but it just felt like
it didn't fit in
like
WCW.
They weren't like ever like a unit in WCW, but here like they kind of are. And it felt like Bulldog and Anvil got lost in the shuffle at a
They did because they put him on Thunder, and then a few did he even make? Yeah, they made like two pay-per-views or no?
Random pay-per-views.
Yeah, like super randomly, but they weren't focused. Like they made a big deal out of the Hart Foundation in WWF. WWE, I mean, sorry, I don't want to get hit with a lawsuit. World Wildlife Foundation, but
Save the animals.
Save the animals. But yeah, they never focused on the Hart Foundation gig. They focused on Brett, and even there, they didn't even fucking use him properly, bro.
There
in
you
WCW,
go, exactly.
Unfortunately. So that whole thing went down to shit. Entertaining fight. Come on, man. You had the Bulldog and Kurt, but again, bullshit DQ. Super classic. Next match, I was surprised, dude.
Renegade,
rest in peace, which
in a different gimmick than we remember him.
He wasn't in the Ultimate Warrior.
American gimmick.
Yeah, like Tatanka, but less cheesy and not as Ultimate Warrior. Because I remember he was an Ultimate Warrior ripoff, Renegade, right?
At first, yeah.
Yeah, and rest in peace.
TV title champion, probably one of the least remembered,
and it's sad, bro. His story, very, very sad story.
Yeah, he went on and he took his own life eventually.
Very sad. Very sad.
Yeah, so he takes on Goldberg, who is still wrestling today in WWE. Incredibly.
Beast, by the way. Great shape, by the way.
Yeah, here he takes out Renegade. Man, and Goldberg is just an absolute beast. Like he's just throwing guys around,
40
making it look
seconds.
easy,
40 seconds, bro. And he kept him up high when he did. Bro, he did the 40 seconds. He speared him, and that looked like a stiff spear, by the way. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw, but that was a stiff spear. And he kept him in the air for about, I don't know, 10 seconds before he jackhammered him.
yeah,
And then he
for
got the
sure.
easy win.
Yeah, one thing, like you're saying, Goldberg was like huge and in super good shape. Like, we mentioned this in other shows like a while back, but just to bring that back, at this time, one thing WCW definitely had was more like huge jacked up guys than WWE. That's
Yes.
one category that WCW killed WWE. Like you had Goldberg, you had Scott Steiner, you had Luger. Like WWE didn't have anyone as jacked as any of those guys.
And that's an interesting because 91, 92 is when the trial came out. So uh, Vince started focusing more on guys like HBK and Bret
Brett,
Hart and
one, two, three
slimmer,
kid.
more athletic, yeah, athletic guys. So I would say it's like WWE took all the heat for it for the steroid allegations, and then
WCW
because
is
that
like,
was
we're just
out,
gonna hire all the steroid guys
yeah, and they're
then.
like, well, it's already done this. Vince probably played out of his pocket, so let's just hire all these guys. And I don't think they tested as much. And
No, they didn't. The only the rigid testing only came after the death of Eddie Guerrero.
yes,
Before that, there was some testing,
years
but I
later,
mean, easy to get around.
and same thing with MMA. At some point, they didn't test that much, and then at some point something happened, and
Well,
they started doing.
GSP,
You say, yeah,
GSP was like he retired from at UFC because he was tired of fighting guys on steroids.
yeah, he fought Johnny Hendricks, a nobody, a jobber. Okay, I'm not taking anything away, but definitely a jobber in the MMA world, and he got dominated by him. And he was supposed to lose. GSP is one of my favorites of all times, but you can tell, bro, that Johnny Hendricks, a jobber, was on the juice from the fight.
Oh
So
yeah,
USADA stepped in at that point, and they start testing everyone, and then you started seeing who's doing roids, and it's interesting. A lot of history with the roid usage and
no, exactly,
competition.
and like at
And
the
then you had the
time,
baseball as well, the baseball trial. When was the baseball trial, Johnny?
dude, the baseball was like about to happen because I think it was in literally maybe this 98, I think was the year of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGuire hitting all those home runs. And then people being like, these guys got to be on the juice. Controversy. And then Barry Bonds broke their record. And then people were like, no, for sure he's on the juice. And then that's when they did the steroid trial.
Yeah, and then Jose Canseco as well, and then everyone started like the list came out, and it was fucking hectic, bro. You never saw much of that in hockey, I think.
No, because like
No.
you got to be like more fast. It doesn't really help to be that bulky
Yeah,
in hockey.
yeah. They would only do like drug, like recreational drug testing and
I
stuff
think a
like
lot
that.
of in hockey, a lot of guys were on coke in the 80s.
Yeah, for sure. So, man, you would like. I saw a list of where this is definitely not related, but I saw a list, bro. I'll hook you up with a list of who got busted with that in the NHL. Um, so Bill Goldberg decimates the Renegade, and we get to our main event, which is surprising. It was Randy Savage versus Roddy Piper. Now,
Which is like two big names,
yeah,
big
massive.
names. Keeping in mind that these two guys they're super veteran though. Like they're not the end of their career. Both of them end up wrestling years later
Yeah,
than this.
later, but they're approaching
They're not in their
their
prime.
no, yeah, they've already like went on with the
Both of
prime.
these guys' prime was in the 80s.
But don't forget, man, these older guys, the genes, I think, or just the way they were, they're different, man. They were
Well,
different.
the
They
thing
lost.
is, too, like as a wrestler goes on, you don't need to do as much. Like, even if you watch a Rey Mysterio, okay, obviously he doesn't do the crazy stuff he used to do in WCW, but his matches are like almost more captivating because
Yeah,
the guy knows
now,
how to captivate the fans. He
yes,
knows
with
how to get
experience.
exactly, you know how to do more with saving your body.
That's it. That's it. Kind of like Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy too. Bro, he did everything he can and he could in his prime, like
Yeah,
crazy.
now
Bro, he gave his life.
he'll bust it out here and there,
And
but it's
there.
not every match.
Exactly. That's a good example though with Ray for sure. Because you're young, bro. Your body, like even me, I don't know about you. Like I don't feel the
Oh
way I
man.
did, bro, in high school. Like even
Yeah.
5 years ago, 6 years ago, I felt I was in great shape. I still am, but I know, like, you know your body and
Well, I mean, look, any other sport, be it hockey, football, baseball, basketball, by their mid-30s, everyone's done unless you're like a high level superstar.
yeah,
Some
the
high level
only
superstars, they'll go on.
absolutely, bro. The only athletes I could say from all sports that are still fighting and are doing well. Like, look, hockey. I'd say Jaromir Jagr, bro. He's still playing. He's still in great shape. Barely gets injured. GSP, bro. He's 40, man. He still trains like he trains as a MMA fighter, like
Yeah.
full time.
In
Ray,
football, you got like
bro.
Tom Brady.
That's it. Goldberg, even though he's not the most technical wrestler, he's still in great shape, bro. Brock is getting
Yeah.
older,
But you see,
great
these are
shape.
guys, they didn't really take that much of a beating throughout their career. So their
Yeah,
body
yeah. We're
is
not
still
talking
like,
Jeff Hardy here and
no, that's it.
Sabu and all these guys.
RVD and yeah. So it ends with a double DQ, which is par for the course for a nitro. I wasn't that mad at it being a double DQ though,
I knew it
because
because
I knew it
again,
going in
I
exactly.
knew
You
it
could
because
tell.
two huge icons. They're not gonna pick one side. So I knew it. I knew it. I wasn't gonna get upset either because I just knew it, bro. Because you have WCW versus possibly NW. I think
Yeah,
Macho
Savage
was
is like
still
on the
iffy.
fence. Yeah.
So there was gonna be a DQ, 100%.
And you see some kind of rift. I'm starting to think we're very close to the wolf pack starting.
Yes, it starts in the summer, I think, but
You could
you
see
could you could
Savage.
see Savage, you could see Nash becoming just as popular and getting more time than
He's kind of
Hogan, I
like
think.
moving away from Hogan. Like they were in that match together against the Giant, but they weren't necessarily that much on the same side either.
Right.
So that'll be really cool to see that build up. But yeah, I don't think Sting was world champion in Wolfpack, but I kind of do remember him maybe being champion in Wolfpack.
No, no, actually, you're right.
He
He
had a
was,
different. I think he was U.S. champion as
I think
in the
he was
Wolfpack.
US champion, and I think he was tag champion at some point. But as a heavyweight, we only see him in 99 black and white. When he comes back to black and white, his
Yeah,
last run was, I think, Fall Brawl 99, Halloween Havoc 99. And then that was the last time he held the title because he himself said, I'm going to start giving, the younger cats and the new gen
more of a
and then Sid
spotlight.
Vicious wins it, the fuck, and then Benoit wins it, and then leaves to WWE. Remember? So it
Yeah,
was around
for
like
sure.
Mayhem and all that. So it was really at the end of
That's when they were
'99.
changing bookers. There was a lot of change.
Exactly. Bret Hart wins it, I think, at some point. Starts out as NW 2000, and there goes the whole company to shit, bro. Right after that.
Yeah. So yeah, just before we give it a grade, just to mention this, like the trend goes on though that Sting, since he's won the world title, and this is like something that people have like said, like he never, even though he was the face of WCW, he was always chasing the belt. And whenever he won the belt, his reigns, for one reason or another, always got like pushed to the side. He never got to be the man with the belt. Like here,
Like
he's
Hogan.
the champion, but he's not main eventing. At the
Right.
pay-per-view, he defended the belt against Scott Hall.
And it was a co-main
It
event.
wasn't, it was like, yeah, it
Co-main
wasn't the
event.
last match.
He wasn't like Hogan, bro. Like,
No, Hogan
all
was
over the
always
place.
main event. It's
Yeah,
Hogan's
yeah,
belt,
yeah,
main event.
yeah.
Now the belt is off Hogan, but it's no longer main event.
I
Hogan is
agree.
still main event. Now you got Piper back, who's got a massive ego. And you'll notice this, okay? We're going to look at this. Piper had a big ego too. Like people look at Hogan as like kind of a bad guy with the ego. Piper, I think because he played a baby face a lot of the time, people have a sympathetic look towards him, but he never loses, dude. He never gets pinned.
Yeah.
Piper was notorious. He refused to lose.
Yes. Yes. I think you've mentioned this to me.
So you're gonna see a lot of DQs in these Piper matches unless he's winning.
Absolutely, because he's a real Scotsman, bro. He's a tough guy. He doesn't want to.
Well, he
He's
wanted to
not laying
protect his
down.
character, and
Absolutely, he did.
Bischoff was willing to sign anything on these contracts.
Absolutely, yeah, man. Now that I realize, you're totally right, bro. He never wanted to go down like that. I remember, which one was it? 96. Was it Halloween Havoc? He fights Hogan. He wins it. He wins with a sleeper, but it was a non-title match. Remember?
Yeah, exactly.
He refused to lose to Hogan. He ends up winning by giving him his famous sleeper, but it was a non-title match.
Yeah, I think
As soon
he
as
only
you know it's a
agreed to come
non-title
if it was
match,
to beat Hogan, and he said,
yeah,
"You guys need me more than I need you."
yeah. And then Hogan must have agreed and said, "Okay, brother, I'm not gonna
For
lose the
the
belt."
ratings, because they wanted
Yeah,
that
yeah.
Piper Hogan replicate the WrestleMania 1 feud, which they did a lot of in WCW, which rehashing, which later on that summer, 98, they bring back the Ultimate Warrior to WCW, which,
Absolutely.
All right, so what would you give this show overall?
To be honest, I would give the show a solid, I'll go honestly for 8, 7.5 to 8.
I was
8
gonna say the
because,
same thing. 8.
yeah, like 7.5 to 8, I'd say, because they had good roster, great matches, bro. DDP, Sting. I enjoyed Booker T versus Benoit. I enjoyed Bulldog versus Henning was
There you
fun.
go.
The
Yeah, exactly.
ending, great talent. I like Papa Pump versus Wayne Bloom. To be honest, I love the whole card. Psychosis, performing,
Jericho was
bro.
funny. Yeah.
Jericho was hilarious. I like the little touch of Goldberg decimating Renegade, even though no one remembers Renegade. I like the opening match, Ultimo Dragon, Chavo. I liked seeing Eddie. So it was solid, bro. Definitely Luger versus Fuller. Pretty darn entertaining.
Yeah, I thought it was good, man. It felt like it was like you could never tell what was going to be the next match at all. Like, was it going to be a big match? Was it going to be not? Was it going to be a cruiserweight? Was it going to be this? One weird thing, there was no straight up tag matches on the whole show, which is just kind of bizarre. It's not a bad thing, but like they had a handicap match, but it's just weird. You don't normally see a 3-hour Nitro, no tag team matches at all.
Right.
But yeah. So yeah, man. Pretty good show. Next week, we will be following up with this show. It'll be the March 30th episode of Nitro. So
Looking
we'll be
forward,
watching
bro.
that, folks.
Absolutely. I watch it, guys. By the way, we watch it throughout the whole week. It's not like we watch it like I'll watch part like tonight. I'll start it a bit, and then Monday I'll start watching a bit more until so it stays fresh, because that's how we do it. So I'm looking forward, bro. Tonight definitely I'm gonna start watching it just to get the idea, and it's just fun to see what kind of random matches are they booking.
Yeah, what's gonna be the vibe of the
what's the
show?
angle, what's the vibe, what are because we know most of what happens. Like we know who held the titles at 98 and who was the US title and the biggest feuds, but it's good to see it build
from
up
week to week, really
from
see
week
it
to week
unfold,
I totally exactly, bro, because pay-per-view is pretty much the summary of the month.
Yeah, if we
If you
just
realize.
watch the pay-per-views, it's cool,
you'll
but it
know,
doesn't.
you'll have an idea
Yeah.
of what happened, but yes, it leads up with the the nitros build them, so you see them, you see how a main event gets booked on the pay-per-view through a nitro, or possibly sometimes Thunder and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, it doesn't feel random. It feels like, because WCW a lot of times, the pay-per-views, a lot of times on the mid card, it wouldn't be like a big feud match, but
yeah,
man. So we'll be back next week, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for watching. Enjoy WCW. Enjoy watching wrestling, and we'll see you next week.